Hello, Fig Nuts, and welcome to the Nothing to Play podcast, a mediocre podcast about video games, movies, and foot fetishes. As always, I'm your host, Justin Time Carter, your boy, and we got another exciting episode for you this week. We got another guest. We have the fabulous Mr. Tanner Koch.
You son of a bitch. Already off to a great start. Well, for podcast purposes, let's say my last name is Koch. So, I'm Tanner Koch, here to join the NTP podcast. I'll abbreviate for short purposes. Glad to be here.
For the record, Tanner's last name is Koch, but for all the time I knew Tanner, I thought it was pronounced Coach, and I said it one day, and everyone thought I was joking, and I was dead serious, and they were like, "You know that's not his last name, right?" And I felt so bad when I said, I was like, "I've never said your last name up until that point, so I didn't know."
It's kind of become a thing with me now. After that, it's like at work, when I meet people, like I won't ever say my last name. It's like, "Oh, I'm Tanner," and then they'll see my last name like all the time, and nobody ever asks ever. And I'll just wait and see how long I'll know a person before they have to be in a position where they have to say my name, and they literally don't know how to say it, but they've known me for so long that they won't ask. It's just a circle that never ends, but I just do it to myself.
Well, that's like when I worked at Target, there was this one dude who called me Jason for like 6 months, and I never corrected him. And then one day in the break room, he heard someone call me Justin, and he like was standing there, and he's like, "Your name's not Jason?" And I was like, "No." I'm like, "It's not." He's like, "But I've been calling you Jason all this time." I'm like, "Yeah, I know."
Literally every single time I'm on the phone with a stranger, they're like, "What's your name, sir?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm Tanner." And like, "Hi, Taylor." And I'm like, "Oh, it's Tanner." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, Taylor." So here's how it goes. Like, everybody always hears Taylor. I don't know if I have like an accent or something or what. I know everybody sounds weird in the recordings, as you stated in one of your previous episodes. I can definitely relate to that.
Well, you'd make a cute Taylor.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So how have you been? I haven't seen you since your wedding.
Yeah, I've been...
Which was like beginning of this year.
Yeah,
The year's almost over.
way back in February. Although we did touch down to see Endgame as well in between that. But yeah, that's quite a bit of time. Yeah, man, I've been married. I've been like, it's odd. I've been doing a lot of traveling this year. I've been lucky enough to do that. I've just been like everywhere this year. Like I went to Europe, went to France, England, all over the place, Hawaii. Now I'm forgetting.
God
There's
damn.
been so many places. Las Vegas. You know, this has been a year full of like being gone, which has been dope. So like I've just spent like I did the math. I spent like 15% of the year like outside of the state. So that's pretty cool. Whatever gets you out of the desert,
You can't complain about that.
for sure.
Dude, didn't you go to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in England?
I did, yes, I did, and it's oh god. All right, whatever. So like, oh, it's so embarrassing. Like we go there, and it was the most incredible thing. Like, and we saw a lot of amazing things on those 2 weeks we spent going all across Europe. But man, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, literally, they sit you in this room before you go into the Great Hall. Like it's like the literal Great Hall. Like it's they have like sets from all the movies and all the props, all the costumes, like everything. It's like incredible. And they have you in this room, and they're literally just showing you like videos that are like all around the room. And then they sit you in a movie theater, and it's just like the actors and directors and producers and shit like that, just like talking about the making of the movie and like what you're about to see. And I literally cried. Like, it was not my proudest moment, but like I was just like nerdcoring so hard over Harry Potter at that moment in time that I just like felt like a child again. It was like awesome.
Chantel's like looking over at you. She's like, "Dude, is this motherfucker for real right now?"
She's like, I didn't get a prenup, did I?
like Harry from the first movies on the screen, and you're like sobbing your eyes at this 14-year-old boy.
God damn it. Yeah, it's whatever, man. It just, sentiments the the love I have of the franchise.
Dude, but that's dope though. Like I when we went to Ireland, we were wanted to go over to England while we were there since it's like cheap as fuck to fly from Ireland to England. It's only like 30 or 40 bucks or fucking something like that.
Oh fuck yeah.
And we were going to go to legit like what you guys went to instead because I was like I do want to go to it and I would even settle for going to the one in California or where I think that's where the other one is, right? It's in
Yeah, well,
California and
in
like
California
Florida.
is like that's like a universal thing, which I have been to, and it's awesome. That's like a theme park thing. This thing that I went to is like literally like
The
they
legit
they converted the old Warner Brothers studio set that they filmed the movies on, and just so they wouldn't have to get rid of all these sets and shit, and they've turned it into like a museum of like movie Harry Potter memorabilia and shit. And you can literally walk through like you can walk through the Dursleys' house. You can go into like you can look at the closet that Harry was in. You go on the night bus in the outdoor area. They have like everything you can imagine there. It's nuts. Every costume, every prop, every set, like that's still standing. It's nuts.
See,
But
that's like badass. Like I wish we would have gotten to go.
yeah, I will say though, like I enjoyed France more than England because, like, honestly, like every stereotype that I had of both of those countries was like polar opposites. Like everybody in England was a total asshole. Like I swear to God, I said like thank you and was like I'm always super polite and I was just like saying super nice things to everybody all the time in England and they would just fucking glare at you. And there's zero like table service in England. You just order shit and then you have to go get it or whatever. But the good thing about it is they don't do tips in England. You don't tip people, but they also do not provide you with quality service whatsoever. Like you'll sit there and order a drink and they will not give a fuck. You'll just sit there.
Was there anything in England or France that like they didn't have that we have here that you like wanted while you were there, but it just doesn't exist over there?
I don't know, weed.
What? People in skins smoke all the time.
Yeah, that's yeah, I know, but it's
Is
like
that like
it's yeah,
television?
yeah. I'm not Nicholas Holt, beast over here running around smoking doobies on the shoreline.
Uh, it's called a spliff in
That's right,
England,
it's a split. Yeah.
according to Channel
But what
4.
they do, at least in France, is they all go to like the rivers and shit with like packs of beer, and they're just drinking alcohol on the side like all the time, everywhere there. So that's pretty chill. But yeah, like weed's a big no-no over in Europe, unless you're in like Amsterdam and stuff.
Like food wise, did they have anything that like?
Food wise, well, I'm kind of like I kind of have a sissy palate, so like I wasn't gonna try like escargot or anything like that. But like England was a lot of fish and chips, of course, and they're famous for like Indian food, which I didn't see a whole lot of Indian food. Definitely a lot of fish and chips. We were in the city of like Bath one day, and I got a fish and chips, but the fish literally had all the scales and shit on it. Still, I was like, "What is this?
Uh,
What?"
yeah, I was like, I don't like fish really to begin with, and that would be like instant like I'm not fucking eating that.
Yeah, it was pretty bizarre. But we went to Bruges in Belgium. That place is amazing. We had like waffles, wine, everything, and I love the movie in Bruges, so of course I had to check out like every spot from that movie. But food wise, like I don't know, man, they got everything good over there. They got all the same shit that they have in America. They just call it something different, like John Travolta says in Pulp Fiction. I did not mean to put, quote that movie out of nowhere. And then once I said it, I was like, oh, that's from something. And then I was like, I might as well give credit to where that came from. But yeah, like
Well, that's
I didn't get a Royale of cheese, but yeah, it's a lot of the same stuff. There's this place, God, I can't for the life of me remember it, but there's this like Italian place that was both in England and France, and it's like a big chain. It's like considered like fast food to them, but it's like you go in there, it's like there's just a bunch of chefs like standing around like bars and they have like fresh pasta of any sort you can think of like right behind them and you go and you ask for like anything you want, these noodles, this kind of meat, this sauce or whatever, and they make it all fresh right in front of you like nothing, and it's like the most delicious thing I've ever had. But like people in England think that's like sizzlers or some shit. Like it's
dude,
like really good.
dude, I was like Megan would like eat there every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. She fucking loves pasta. I do not like. I mean, I eat pasta, but I'm like really picky about like what pasta I eat.
Yeah, I had a lot of steak and fries and shit there. I had probably the best BLT I've ever had, right next to Notre Dame. I was lucky enough to like go through all that before it burnt to a crisp. I was there literally like weeks before it burnt down. Well, actually, no, it burnt down like a month or so ago. So I guess a few months beforehand. But like, it was literally like really close. But it was nuts. We walked up to the very top bell tower, and then when I came back down to like the bottom of the cathedral, like we were both shaking for like 5 minutes. There's so many stairs, and it's like just a really confined spiral that just goes forever, like both directions. And man, I was like shaking for a while after that.
Dude, that's like when we like cuz we've been to Ireland a couple times and like everyone in Ireland just like fucking hates the English.
Yeah.
Like every time there's a soccer game on and it's England, like they are just like spitting on the floor. Like they fucking hate
They're
like
like,
the English
they're
so
like, fuck them
much.
though. They're going out of the EU.
Yeah, dude,
That was not an Irish accent at all. That was a half English accent.
yeah. You heard it here first. That was an accurate representation.
Man, I swear I'm good at voices. I don't know where that came from. This is very off the cuff here.
But like fucking Megan's dad over there fucking like hates the English and like when we were over there like I was like did post it on Facebook. I'm like, "Oh, we're in Ireland." And I posted like the English flag and he was fucking pissed. Like he's like, "That's not the fucking Irish flag."
Yeah,
You
that's a
fucking...
much more accurate portrayal of the Irish there.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Oh man. But like in Ireland too, they don't have that's what I was asking cuz they don't have ranch in Ireland. And
Sad.
I fucking put ranch on everything and it's literally just like that and like Mexican food is just like non-existent.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's pretty hard to come by, I'm sure.
Yeah, and like fruit is like hella expensive because it's so cold there, like nothing grows. So it's like, potatoes, like vegetables and shit are like pretty cheap. But then like a pack of strawberries was like $5 and there was literally like six strawberries in a pack. Like
No thanks.
yeah, I was like, and like apples and shit, or like an apple was like, I don't know, like $3 or fucking for an apple, like, because like nothing, it's just so cold, like it's like hard to come by.
Dude, I got a Sprite at that same restaurant right next to Notre Dame, and like I just wasn't doing like the conversion math very well. Like I was just like, oh yeah, I just want a Sprite. And for a Sprite, they charged me like $8, and it was just a bottle, like a little glass bottle of Sprite.
Jesus. Well, that's why I thought a lot of places when I went to in Ireland, you could charge your card in either U.S. dollars or in euros, which
Right.
was nice. Because then I was like, I don't need to figure this out and get like, if I charged it just the U.S. dollars or whatever, I didn't get the fucking whatever cents. Like I racked up like probably at least $20 in just surcharges of fucking foreign using my debit card.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like I love.
But
It's like that's why I love going to Canada. It's like, oh snap! Like I could get a lot more for my money here.
dude, if you go to fucking oh god, where does he live? There's a uh Venezuela, I think is where this guy I know he's a programmer, works on games. He lives in like Venezuela, and like their currency is like shit. Like it's nothing because they've reprinted their money like they reprinted their money like six times in like a year, and so it just plummeted the worth of the dollar. So like, hold on, I'm gonna fucking look up what their dollar is worth because it's like insane. Like he was posting about it on Twitter, and he's like one of their dollar is worth like so much money here, and he's like in order and like a lot of places you can't use debit card, it's like cash, and he's like, yeah, dude, he's like it's literally like a backpack full of cash, like because like you need that much money, and it's like worth absolutely nothing.
And why does he live there?
Uh, I think he was here, but then his like work visa expired,
Oh, he's
and he
from
couldn't.
there. Gotcha,
Yeah, and
gotcha.
he couldn't get it renewed, so he had to come back. He had to go back there, and it's just he's like
Oh, that's a
wanted back
bummer.
out. He's
I
like
bet he
it's
was
a
rich as
shithole.
hell over there, though.
But yeah, if you work over the internet, like if you're doing U.S. getting paid U.S. salary and just having it transferred to Venezuela, you're like a fucking millionaire like over there because it's like even though the internet sucks over there apparently, but it's like Venezuelan Bolivar is their currency.
Oh
Here
wow.
we go. Goddamn. I know I'm over here. I'm doing bad podcasting, trying to find out how much the U.S. dollar is worth.
Hello, every your listeners right now are like, I thought we were talking about movies and video games and stuff. All I've been hearing about is like fucking conversions of currency in foreign nations.
Okay, so I think it looks like their money might have gone up a little bit, but so 1,000 US dollars here is almost 10 grand over there. So like
Wow.
10 of their dollars is like one of our dollars.
Jeez. Wow. That's a real bummer.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, don't want to go there. Oh man, but so have you been watching any? So, okay, so I guess getting back on topic then. Uh, well, actually, there's a bit of video game news. There's a couple of video game newses. I saw Insomniac got bought by Sony.
Hell yeah. Wise choice, Sony.
I'm glad
Absolutely.
Sony snatched them up before fucking Epic Games could, since Epic's been buying up games and making them Epic Store exclusives.
They're just like, you will be making Spider Man games for the rest of your days, guys. No more Sunset Overdrives. Don't want any other of this crap. I want Infamous games. I want Spider Man games. That's what you're making.
They're like Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, they already take that.
You're like that movie didn't do too hot.
Could you imagine like Naughty Dog going back to Crash Bandicoot or Jack and Daxter?
I mean, I don't. I thought the remake they did of Crash Bandicoot sold pretty well, but I mean
Yeah, but could
those
you
kind of
imagine
games
like Naughty Dog, like this god tier studio now, like going back and making those games again?
they're gonna do what like Microsoft did to Banjo Kazooie and make like a darker, kind of edgier Banjo Kazooie.
That's gross. Let's hope they don't do that.
But there was that, and then Nintendo had like a little 20-minute indie Nintendo Direct thing this morning that I fucking missed because I didn't realize it was at 6 o'clock in the morning. And at 7 o'clock in the morning, I was like, "Oh man, I wonder what time the Nintendo Direct thing is today." And I realized it already happened, and I was like, "Fuck."
Did you find out what happened in it? Because I have no idea about this.
Yeah, I mean, they revealed a handful of games. Two that came out today for the Switch were Hotline Miami Collection, which has Hotline Miami 1 and 2, which I do want to get because I love Hotline Miami. And one of your favorites, Super Hot, is on the Switch now,
Yes, wow. Like
which,
the Switch is just the gift that keeps on giving.
yeah,
Like,
although I'm sure it's not as badass as it is on the PSVR, but it's still cool to play it anywhere.
yeah, absolutely. Like literally anything gets ported to the Switch. I'm like, I wouldn't mind playing that on the go. Like, I really
That's what
want
I posted.
it.
That's what I posted on Twitter. I was like with all these games that I love and already own, and it was like Nintendo. Here's these games that you own, but on the Switch, and then it's SpongeBob when he has the wallet out. He's like getting ready to pull his card out.
Absolutely. It's like, do I want to buy Resident Evil 4 for like the third time? Like, yeah, probably.
I was like, I do.
Yeah. If it has the same controls as the Wii version, but with the Joy Cons, then I'm there for sure.
God, I was like, I would literally pay $60 again for Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door on Switch.
And they do a lot of those ports. They charge a lot. It's like, oh, you want Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2 for the upteenth time? Well, guess what, pal? $50 if you want it on the Switch.
Dude, I thought that was like so like the Konami anniversary collection for Castlevania and for Contra is only like $20, which makes sense. I'm like, okay, that's like a fair amount for like I don't know, like 5 games or something like that are like, fucking 20 years old. But then like there was the Collection of Mana series or whatever came out and I was like, "Oh, dude," I was like, I totally want that shit. I fucking love the Mana games, and it was like $40, and I was like, dude, fuck you, dude. I'm not paying
Yeah,
forty
it's a
dollars.
steep price, man.
Yeah, when one of them's a fucking Game Boy game, like I am not paying fucking $40 for an original Game Boy game. I'm like, I'll just fucking play that shit on my PSP. Like, you got me
Absolutely.
fucked up. You got paying that shit.
And I'm at that in between games period in my life right now where it's like I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2 for a long time, and I was playing like the Marvel Spider-Man game, and then Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, and I was like, I'm gonna put everything on pause and play that game. I got through Kingdom Hearts 3, and then I went back and I did Red Dead Redemption 2, which took me forever. So that game is really long, and I do not get very much time to play video games. That's another thing that the Switch saves me on. It's the only way I can play games because I'll play it for like 10 minutes and then I'll have to come back to it like 2 days later. That's why I love the Switch. But yeah, Red Dead took me forever to get through Red Dead 2. And then I bought like the DLC for Marvel's Spider-Man because I was just jonesing for more Spidey action after seeing Far From Home. So then I hopped in on that train. And
Yeah,
now I
man.
don't know what to play.
I was like, since I got the Switch, I've played games more than I think I have in like years because of the Switch. Just being able to take it to like work, and then like I play it like in the car, like when I
Absolutely.
get
It's
started.
the
Like,
best for like traveling. It's the best.
yeah, and it's like at night I would play like GameCube games and stuff in the bedroom, but then I was like, man, I have to get up and fucking turn it off and stuff. And now that I have the Switch, I'm like, I can just turn it off and throw that shit on the nightstand and call it a day. Like,
Exactly. And like come back to it many days later and be in the exact same spot.
but yeah, I've been playing. I've kind of been switching back and forth still between Fire Emblem and Mario Maker 2, are like the two main ones I've been playing.
I've barely touched Mario Maker 2, sad to say. I'm not gonna make anything. I don't got the time for that. But like, I tried to play like one or two of your levels, and I was like, "Fuck this, man! Like, this is impossible." Like,
Which Matt, if you're listening to this, fuck you for still booing my levels. I don't care. I was like, Matt's like talking to me today about how he's like he has some ideas for some levels he wants to make, and I'm like, good, because I'm gonna fucking boo that shit. Like my levels are not that bad. I have played way worse. There's way worse shit than
oh,
like
oh,
what I've made. Like,
does he also think they're very hard? Like,
well, he told his excuse because I was like, why did you boo my shit? And he said his excuse was that he didn't think the ducking and jumping was like a cool mechanic to build a level around. And I was like, okay.
what
I'm like, yeah. I was like, I was like, I haven't seen any other levels like that, like on there. I mean, there's a ton that it's like switch blocks, and like of course utilizing the other. I was like, this shit's like not even technically like a mechanic that like Super Mario Maker that you add in. It's like shit you could do in the original Mario Maker, like Mario games.
It's like such
But
a game maker guy response to have, though. I don't think building a level around this particular mechanic is a very well way of representing the game. Super Mario
yeah,
Maker 2.
yeah, it's coming from someone who hasn't even made a level. I was like, yeah, make your. But then again, and that's also I played Alex's levels, and it's like a hodgepodge. It's like fucking hodgepodge of like, let me cram every like thing possible into one level, and now you get to run through it.
Yeah, I enjoyed Alex's levels for sure.
There was a couple there was one that was the hodgepodge one that I was like, dude, fuck this. Like I beat it, but I was like, and he's like, oh, there's some secret like way where you can avoid all this shit, and I was like, dude, fuck you. Like,
I was really drunk too, and it took me like 50 something attempts to get through one of his levels, but I was determined to get through it.
oh man, but yeah, I've been really. I think the next game I'm waiting for is a Link's Awakening. I think is the next one.
Oh yeah, that's coming real soon. I'm looking forward to that. I have been playing Stardew Valley again, and and what happened was like back in March at a work event, I won a Nintendo Switch, but of course I already had one, and I gave it to my wife under the guise that if I could convince her to play some games, then I'll get to play some games because I don't have that much time to play them. So I gave her a Switch and I got her Let's Go Eevee, and then she got into that for a while. And then after like she reached like the Elite Four and then just dropped the game for some reason.
It's like
And
at the
then
very end
and I
of the
was like, I
game.
gotta get her on another game so I can play games again. And I was like, well, she loved Animal Crossing because I got her a DS a couple of years ago, and she played Animal Crossing like every day for a year. So I was like, Stardew Valley is like a more intricate Animal Crossing. I could get her hooked on that, and it worked like gangbusters. She plays Stardew Valley all the time. She's playing it right now while we record this, and so like then she started doing shit that I never did on the game. I'm like, what the hell? And I was like, I was getting pissed about it. So I was like, I dropped like fucking 60 hours into this game, and she's doing shit that I never did. So I was like, all right, I'm going back, and I'm gonna prove that I'm the guy here at this game, whose name is not Chris Steveson. I will show that I am the Stardew Valley guy. So then I've been like playing it religiously the last couple weeks, just like exuding my dominance at Stardew Valley.
Yeah, every time I see her online, you're either playing Stardew Valley or you're playing NBA 2K.
Yeah, that's a severe addiction that I've had for a very long time. Like a game of 2K a day is like my medicine. It's like what centers me. Like it's like
You're like,
there's an absurd amount of hours spent on 2K, and the sad thing is I own it on every single console. I play it all the time.
sign me up, Buttercup. You're like, I'm in it to win it.
It's just always the easiest thing for me because like it only takes me 20 minutes to get through a game of basketball. If I was like playing Red Dead Redemption, it'll take me 20 minutes to get to the mission. So like
Walk to town.
yeah, the beauty of Red Dead Redemption 2, which I didn't discover until after I'd already sunk like 30 hours into the game, is like if you switch to cinematic mode while you're riding a horse, the game will take over and just ride the horse for you to whatever you marked on the location. So like I would just have my horse riding me to the mission, and then I would have my Switch out, and I'd be playing a different game while Red Dead I was going to the mission. It would just take 10 minutes to get there. So,
God damn it. Have you seen any good movies lately?
yeah. I think the best two movies that I've seen this year came out this past month. It's overall, think it's been a really disappointing year for movies. Like, there's not been a lot of shit that I was like super stoked about. Um, but yeah, I saw Midsommar at the beginning of last month, and that was some dope stuff. It's from Ari Aster, the guy who made Hereditary. So, if you did you see Hereditary?
I did. I So I saw Hereditary, and it was one of those where I waited until it was kind of like it was out on DVD and stuff already, and I had heard nothing but good things about it, and people were saying how it was like amazing and it was super scary, and stuff. So I was but I didn't really know what it was about because I watched a trailer I think for it, but even the trailer was kind of vague as to what it was about. I just knew someone died and stuff, and I was like, all right. And I watched it, and it's kind of I don't know, The Witch and stuff, where it's going in, I had this kind of idea of kind of what I thought it was gonna be like, and then it was nothing about
Yeah.
what I thought it
I
was gonna
can't
be like.
believe are you putting Hereditary on the same level of The Witch?
No, 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 no. I would
Okay.
watch Hereditary with The Witch was shot I thought The Witch was shot beautifully, but I
Yeah,
did
but it
not
was
really.
boring.
Yeah, it was boring, and then the ending, I'm like, that was it.
Yeah,
At
exactly.
the
That was
end.
the exact reaction that I had. I saw The Witch in theaters, and there was like a bunch of older people in the theater, and we were there on opening night. And they, when the credits started, they were like 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. What?
Dude, well, I went and saw The Witch in theaters too because for one of Megan's classes or whatever, it was extra credit. So her and her friend and me went and saw it in theaters, and we were all sitting there I was like, this is not at all what I was some slice of life in the fucking plague era of society.
Oh my
But
god. No, but did you? But so overall, did you think it was at least all right? I think the thing is that people get too hyped for horror movies, and I don't know if it's just for me because I literally don't get scared by horror movies ever. There's two instances in my life where I was scared watching a horror movie. So
I mean,
I just go for the artistic value or the creepiness and shit like that.
well, yeah, it definitely had artistic there was definitely a lot of really good moments I thought in Hereditary. I just didn't the like again, it had like like crazy, like the ending was crazy, and I was just kind of like, what the fuck, like at the end.
Have you seen that his new movie Midsommar?
No, I've heard that's good, and I saw online today they were like gonna release that like extended cut or whatever of it that's supposed to be even more fucked up.
Yeah, man, it's a trippy ass movie, and I mean that literally. Like you feel like you're on drugs when you watch it. Like it's like very bizarre psychological horror.
Well, and I'll probably give it a watch when it comes out, because that was like I don't know, like I was super pumped for Us too, and I was pretty
Don't tell
let
me you
down.
didn't like Us. Oh my
Dude, it was
god.
fucking like
Ah,
it was not
what? I was gonna
like
say Us is the third best movie I've seen this year.
oh my god, like out of out of like out of like all like I watched Crawl and I put Crawl above Us.
Wow. Now, I haven't seen Crawl, but I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna like it more than Us.
like I see what Us was going for, and I mean I like the concept of it in parts, but at the same time it had like moments where I was kind of like, why? like like the ending and stuff. I was kind of just like, okay, like I guess that's what was going on. I don't know. I guess it was just too above me. Too like I guess I just wasn't smart enough to
Oh my
understand
god,
all the
no.
little nuances of it to truly appreciate it. Like I loved Get Out. Like I thought Get Out was better than Us. Like
I'll agree with that. Yeah, yeah, I don't disagree there. But and then the best movie I think I've seen this year, which came out really recently, was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin
and
Tarantino.
I've heard amazing things about that, and I haven't watched um like I haven't watched a lot of his like more recent. Like I never watched Hateful Eight.
I'd say Hateful Eight's like my least favorite of his movies. It's just like really long and all within one setting and stuff. It's definitely I'd say it's probably his weakest work, and I say that like including like Death Proof from Grindhouse. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, man, like it just my jaw was dropped after that movie because it's like it's strange. It's like very much not a Quentin Tarantino movie. Like it doesn't have the same structure and the same like rhythm that all his other movies have. It's like really like somber and like slow and stuff, and it doesn't have like his real flashy like typical ways of doing things. But it is really long, but it doesn't feel really long. And it's just
Yeah,
like afterwards, like I had to think on it for a day, and then like the next day, I was like, I fucking love that movie.
yeah. I heard a lot of people like thought that it was gonna be more about the Manson murders and stuff, and I guess that's only like a really small part of the movie.
Right? Yeah, it's very like you literally only see Charles Manson himself for like 10 seconds in the movie. Like literally, what you see of him in the trailer is what he is in the movie. He doesn't have any lines. You do not see him. Sorry, I know that's like a spoiler, but like for fuck's sake, it doesn't matter.
Spoiler warning: Tanner's gonna ruin the movie for you
I
guys.
I just revealed that the scene that you saw in the trailer is indeed in the movie. There you go. But yeah, I loved it. It's really good. I think there's a good chance that both Leo and Brad are up for some awards later this year. Uh,
Well, that's good.
on the horizon, I'm really looking forward to Joker coming out soon.
Dude, I really hope that's good.
I
It
just
looks
like
good,
it looks good,
but
and I'm going into it not even thinking of it as a comic book adaptation because that's not what it is. And I'm not even going to relate it to Batman mythos or anything. I'm not even going to think of it in the DC realm. I'm just going to think of it as like a crime drama movie, and it's just like Taxi Driver or Goodfellas or like any sort of Martin Scorsese flick. I'm just going to look at it that way and not related to DC Comics like in whatsoever. And then hopefully that way I'm just gonna love the fuck out of it is the idea. That's at least how I'm approaching it.
yeah, because I was kind of hyped for Jared Leto's Joker, and then I was kind of let down.
Yeah, you think?
It's gone by it.
Why you didn't like Damaged Joker?
I mean, looks aside, like I mean, I thought like his laugh and stuff was decent. Aside from looking like like a pimp,
Yeah.
Yes, like,
Well, his
but
inspiration for that look was he studied like real life Instagram gangsters, and that's what he modeled his Joker character after. It's like I want lots of tattoos, I want a grill, I want all this shit, and
so are you telling me it's directly because of him that that's why he looked like that?
that was his choice for the character. Him and the director David Ayer. That's what the direction they wanted to go to. Like I believe it was David Ayer's initial idea, and then they just took it really far.
Too far.
Too damaged.
Too damaged for you.
But I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is like arguably one of, if not the greatest actors alive right now. So like, I'm pretty sure it's at the very least going to be a powerhouse performance. So
I what was it? Last week I saw Spider-Man finally.
oh, dude, yes, I loved it. I really did. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I was like, I'm about to unleash some Spider-Man spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet, fast forward to a point in the podcast where I'm no longer talking about it.
There you go. Good luck to you.
Dude, I love. Well, this isn't even a spoiler, but Jake Gyllenhaal was amazing
He was
as
perfect. He
Mysterio.
was perfect. And like, I mean, what I'll say about the movie is like it was 100% what I expected. Like every beat of the movie was exactly what I thought would happen until the post credits and the mid credit scene. But the actual movie itself, everything happened exactly as I predicted it would because anybody who knows Spider-Man comics or whatever like knows exactly what's going to happen with that character. Like and they
Dude,
did.
isn't yeah, the post credits blew me away. Like I was like, dude, they fucking revealed it, like that he's Spider Man. Like I know in the comics that happened. I was trying to remember because it's been so long. I couldn't remember. Like, do you like what comic storyline was it that like his identity was revealed?
Civil
Do you
War.
was it Civil War that
It
it
was
was Civil War he
it
came
was
out?
the second issue of Civil War. Yeah, he purposefully took his mask off in front of the
Yeah,
world. Yeah.
because I thought I was trying to remember because does do you know the Civil War happen before or after House of M?
Um, I want to say after, and Matt's probably screaming somewhere if he's listening to this. He's like, "You idiots! House of
Well,
M is in this."
well, because when I saw, because I remembered like, because I thought I was like, because I don't know for whatever reason I had it in my head that initially Spider-Man's identity was like leaked, kind of like how it was in the post-credit scene,
All
and
right.
that everyone knew he was Spider-Man, and then it just kind of became a thing. But then in House of M, when Scarlet Witch, like, changes everything or whatever, and then like when everything goes back to the way like it was, I thought that like nobody remembered he was Spider-Man anymore, and then that's kind of like how they like erased that. But then he like came out legitly like later. I don't remember, but I thought that's what happened. But I could also be very wrong because it's been so long since I've read
Right. Yeah, I feel
Civil
you
War,
there.
House
Like
of M.
I remember Civil War pretty well, but yeah. Yeah, I thought it was great. Oh my god! But since we already went straight to the mid-credits scene, like oh
Yeah.
my god, when J.K. Simmons showed up as J. Jonah Jameson, I
Yes.
literally screamed in the theater. I had never been so excited for a moment. Like how that did not leak on the internet and get into my eyes, like before that movie came out, is all the power to Marvel. Thank you, because that was like the greatest thing that's happened in cinema in my eyes, and God knows how long. Like I
Well, it's
was,
because it's like he will always be him. Like it's
yeah,
one of those roles where it's just like, Robert Downey Jr. will always be like. Anytime you think Tony Stark, you're gonna think Robert Downey Jr. It's just like,
yeah,
anytime
absolutely.
you think of him, you're gonna think of him.
Yeah, you can't. Like he is Jameson. Like it's just perfect. So like I hope they bring him back for the next one. That'd be amazing. No pun intended. But yeah, I loved that they used the way that they did Mysterio, particularly in the climax of the film when they're showing the way he does things. Um, they had an
Yeah,
actual. Are we spoiling that, or are we?
yeah. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I already gave the spoiler warning, so you
Oh yeah,
can.
yeah.
You don't need to
Well,
beat around the bush
I
anymore.
just loved that they had him in a legitimate like movie motion capture suit, It's like what he was already wearing during the production, but they're like, oh, this time we're just not gonna put CG over you. Just walk around in that thing. And it was just like great because at the beginning of the movie, like when it started, because of course going into it, I'm like, he's gonna be a fraud. He's gonna be using illusions and shit, all this blah blah blah. But I'm like, at the beginning of the movie, like his acting was really bad, and I'm like, why is Jake Gyllenhaal so terrible at acting right now? And then I was like, oh, it's probably because he's a character who's acting right now. I guess to two characters who were acting as well, because it wasn't Nick Fury.
Dude, so there was one thing that like when I walked out of Spider-Man, like on the car ride home, I was like sitting in the car trying to wrap my head around this, and I still haven't figured it out. And so because in the movie, Jake Gyllenhaal, Mysterio, like his whole origin thing was that he's from a different universe, which introduces the multiverse. He's not from Earth 616 or whatever our Earth is called,
That's right.
and but in the end, you find out that it was all an act or whatever. It deceived. So like, was he legitimately from? Because it showed the clip from I don't know which Iron Man that was. Like it was like Iron Man 2 or 3 or whatever with the hologram tech.
It's
So
the original. Yeah,
so he's from our Earth, right? He's not
yeah,
actually from.
yeah, man. That was
But
all just an act.
yeah, but in the new, they already announced in the new Doctor Strange and stuff, it's called the Multiverse of Madness. So it's like they already kind of teased the multiverse, and it seems like they are going to actually delve into the multiverse stuff.
Well, it's like they
So
in Iron Man 3 they faked out the Mandarin, and now he's gonna be in Shang Chi. So
I
like
guess
they're just
I was just kind of like, I just thought that was weird. I was like, then if this is a real thing, then like, how is it a lie if it was like a real thing?
it was just a really lucky lie, I
I
guess.
guess.
Maybe
But
the real
yeah,
Nick Fury would have seen through that. I thought it was crazy that like I don't know how many times have we seen the Tom Holland Spider-Man now? It's in Civil War, Homecoming, and then the last two Avengers movies. So this is like the fifth time we've seen him. And in the very end of the movie, for the first time, we finally see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe Spider-Man swinging through the city of New York, like which is something we have not seen like at all in the movies. And then we see it, and immediately the entire world finds out that he's Spider-Man. It's like, damn it.
well, it's because they were like, you've already seen 3 other movies where he's doing this
Five.
with. So, well, let's be honest, nobody saw Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I wish I didn't.
I didn't. I saw the first one and I was like, yeah. And then I saw the trailer for the second one and I was like, yeah, it's a hard pass for
Like
me.
Spider-Man 3 is terrible, but it's hilariously terrible. And like there are moments in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 that are hilariously terrible, but for the most part it's just like painfully terrible. And that's never fun for anybody.
Yeah, I was just like, I mean, I didn't necessarily think Andrew Garfield was like a terrible Spider-Man, but I
Yeah,
was
but he
just kind
was
of
a skater bro, Peter Parker. Yeah.
like,
Like I don't know. I'm still conflicted, man, about how like last December I saw the greatest Spider-Man film of my life, Into the Spider-Verse, and then, like I'm still gripping with the fact that like I'm now saying that there is a Spider-Man film that is better than Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, and it's like something that I still haven't accepted.
I was like, so funny enough, I haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse yet.
What in God's name is wrong with you? Get off of this
I don't,
podcast and go watch it immediately.
I don't. It's I like
They even put it on
downloaded.
Netflix now, man.
I
Like it
know.
just
I have it downloaded on my computer. It's on Netflix now, and I just haven't watched it.
watch it on the biggest, bestest TV you got access to because it is a work of art. It
I
literally
was.
changed the game of animation. It's the most gorgeous film.
I know. So I was like, Matt's gonna be the guest on the podcast next week, and I promised him I will have watched it by then, so that because he wants
Oh,
to talk to me about it so bad, and I was like, dude, I haven't seen it
dude, shame on
yet.
you! I cannot
No.
believe this. You're giving Crawl high praise, and you haven't seen the fucking Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Academy Award winning Best Animated Feature, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
But it's like, I don't know. It's like I'm like weird about that shit because it's like I know it's good. It's like I already know it's good and I'm gonna love it. And it's like for some reason, like in my heart, it's like because I know I'm gonna love it and that it's gonna be good. I'm like I don't need to watch that right now. Like I don't know why.
Dude, I do not understand that whatsoever.
Yeah.
I have
I
zero patience. Like I go to like every movie premiere because I will not wait a second if it's something I want to see. Like I'm just gonna see it immediately at like 6 o'clock on a Thursday.
yeah. I was like I've literally sat there like a couple weeks ago and watched through like 4 out of the 6 Sharknado movies, but I haven't watched Into the Spider Verse.
Dude, seriously, oh my god, it's so amazing. It was literally my favorite movie of last year, and it's rough for me to say the like Spider-Man movie was not this. I mean, of course, I fucking adore Spider-Man, but it's just weird to say that the best movie I saw last year, being all big film snob or whatever, was a Spider-Man animated movie, no doubt. Like from Sony, who would have thought? Like it's crazy.
Hey, I was like, that's what happens when you take risks with your IPs.
Yeah, what do you call Venom?
I mean, apparently they're making a sequel, so
Well, it
maybe.
was highly successful. It was a trash movie. It was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in the movie theater, but it made a lot of money.
Yeah, I watched it. I mean, I thought it was okay. Like, it wasn't. I
Like
mean, it wasn't the worst
like
like superhero movie I've ever
if
seen,
it
but
came out in like 2003, 2004, that would have been like the greatest superhero movie. But you come out 2018 with that movie, man, it's like it belongs with like the Fantastic Four and Daredevil from the early 2000s.
dude, that would be hilarious if like in like a post-credit scene for like Venom, it's like him and then you see like Punisher from like Punisher War Journal and like Ben Affleck is Daredevil and stuff and it's like all the 2000 like superhero people.
Oh my god.
Elektra comes in.
Or what if Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man shows up?
God, yeah. I heard that they were trying to get like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse or whatever and they
Yeah.
couldn't get it to work.
I know it's a bummer, but there's so much Spidey goodness in that movie. Like you get plenty of goods there, and it is. I cannot praise that movie enough. It's so good.
I was like, Wednesday, I'm gonna go see the 40 meters below Revenge.
Have fun with that.
Dude, did you watch the first one?
No, I can't say I'm a aficionado of Shark Attack movies. I saw that one with like Blake Lively because I had to, but I don't. It's not like shark monster movie is not really my kind of thing.
Dude, I was like, I will say to its credit because I was like, yeah, I hadn't seen it, but I was like, we better watch it because I know the new one's coming out or whatever, and we go see all the creature movies and stuff, and I was like, I mean, I heard this was like okay or whatever, so I watched the first 40 meters below, but like, there's a twist like at the end that I wasn't expecting,
Lay it
that
on me.
like,
Lay it on me.
so it's like the whole thing is like two, I think they're friends,
Yeah,
just
it's like
friends or
Mandy
whatever, but
Moore and somebody else in like a shark cave, and the crank breaks. I listened to your podcast about this. That's
yeah,
why I know this. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Now I
yeah,
remember. Now I know why I know
yeah,
it.
they go to Cabo and they like yeah they get stuck underwater or whatever, but like the twist was because it like they were running out of oxygen from their tanks and the people on the boat were trying to get them more oxygen and they were like you have to be careful though because you'll get I don't know carbon monoxide poisoning or something you'll start like hallucinating if you like start are under there too long with the air tanks and
Right.
stuff and the one chick's like leg ends up getting stuck like under the cage or whatever, so she's kind of trapped. And then her one sister's trying to like go out to like get something or whatever to help like get her untrapped, but she ends up getting her leg unstuck. And then her sister got taken by a shark and is like dying out. And then the people come and it's like they rescue them, and the one chick has like a gash on her hand or whatever, and they're like on the boat, and like there's like helicopters and like whatever. It's like towards the end of the movie, and it's like, oh yeah, like they saved him, whatever. Like the one sister's like dying or whatever, but I guess she's gonna live. And then the one chick's like the sun's in her face, and she's like holding her hand in front of her face, and you see kind of like blood like floating up like out of her hand like pouring, and she's like waving, and it's all kind of like ghost image like shadow like whatever, and she's like looking at her hand, and it's all trippy, and then it cuts and it like shows she's actually underwater still, and her sister's like legit dead, and she's like hallucinating like laughing
Whoa.
like bleeding out underwater, and then like it actually shows the rescue people coming, and they're like, we need to get you out or whatever, and she's like laughing all like fucking like crazy and stuff, and her sister's like legit dead. And
Oh my god.
I was like, dude, I did not expect that like
Well,
in the last like 5 minutes.
that's a fun twist. I wonder if the sequel, quote unquote, will try to do something similar.
Yeah, I was like, I haven't watched the trailer for it. I'm assuming it has like nothing to do with the first one.
Zero. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. But that's just like cuz yeah, we were on a monster movie binge for like a while cuz like Megan never saw Lake Placid
Oh,
with
God forbid.
with Betty White.
Yeah,
And
I heard you rewatch the classic Deep Blue Sea.
yeah, and we watched the second one too that came out last year, and it was fucking awful.
Really? So it was the first 20 years
Yeah,
ago.
but the first one it was like one of those where it's like The Room, where it's like it's bad, but it has so many like funny bad
Oh,
moments in it.
absolutely. Yeah. It's just not fun when something's like going for bad.
Yeah, whereas like the second one was like there was like parts in the second one where like this dude's like injecting himself with like the shark DNA to like make himself smarter or whatever, and it's like every time he did it, it's like that fucking meme of like that confused looking woman with all the math symbols like all over her
Right.
face.
Yeah.
It legitimately did that every single time he did this, and I was like, came out last year. I'm like, why the fuck are you doing this?
Oh, geez. I forgot about that Jason Statham movie, The Meg, from last year. I know I saw it. I don't remember a single thing about it except for it had a really giant shark on it.
Yeah, I was like, Megan watched that while I was like working on stuff, and I just kept catching glimpses of it, and it's just like him walking around like shirtless for like 80% of the movie.
I saw Hobbs and Shaw a couple weeks ago. I'm a big Fast and Furious fan, and I was like, "Oh shit, this looks insanely stupid. I've got to see it." And it really took it up a notch. It took it up like the Fast and Furious movies are absurd, but like this took it to a whole new level. Like it was just ridiculous to the max.
Dude, on Twitter, like I haven't seen Hobbs and Shaw yet, but someone I follow on Twitter was describing the movie, and it was like the best description I've ever heard. And I told someone at work about it who saw the movie, and they're like, "Yeah, that is accurate." And their description was, they were like, Hobbs and Shaw is the equivalent of as a kid when you're playing with Hot Wheels and you're making up a story, and you just
Yes.
write
Oh
down
my
everything
god.
that comes up like in the story when you're a kid, and that's the movie.
That's perfect. That's exactly it, man. It's insane. Like Idris Elba is like an impenetrable human in the Fast and Furious realm, and he can like blast through a double decker bus and just get up and stuff. It's very very weird. And there's
Dude,
two big A-list celebrity cameos in the movie that are like nutso out of left field.
Dude, that's like my friend George that saw it said that like at one point like they're on some island or something, and then fucking they come with like all these guns, and they end up setting off some like EMP thing or whatever that just like makes the guns not work anymore. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Like,
They were like electro signature guns where they like had to have like a fingerprint to use them or whatever. So the logic
okay.
was they wouldn't work because of the EMP. But if you want to know something even crazier than that, if we're gonna get light spoilers here about the movie, there's a part where there's this like extremely important like blood machine. There's like this character, like the main plot is like this Shaw's sister has like poison blood that will like become a toxin released into the air and kill like all the planet or whatever, something ridiculous like that. And they have this extremely ridiculous blood machine that like it looks like a sci-fi creation, and it gets damaged and broken. And then The Rock is like, I know just the place to take it to. And they go to Hawaii, and he takes it to his brother, who is a mechanic. And then it's like his brother for 2 days fixing this extremely scientific, ridiculous blood machine, and he's a goddamn mechanic on an island in Hawaii.
He's like, all I had to do was change the spark plugs.
And he's like, but wait, I've got a 3D printer. I can fix it.
God damn it. I was like, what else is coming out? I was like, cause yeah, there's a couple. I kind of, now that I have A-list, I go to the movies about like once a week.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so this week I'm gonna go see the 40 meters below. I was like, next week I want to go see Ready or Not.
Oh yeah, I hear good things about that.
Yeah, that's been getting really good reviews, and I want to see that. And I kind of want to see, just for shits and giggles, go see Good Boys.
Yeah, it could be. It looks like it could be fun. I like Seth Rogen movies, so like I'm sure I'll find it enjoyable.
You're like, even Sausage Party?
No, actually, I did not like Sausage Party. Dude, I got like maybe 10 minutes into Sausage Party, and I was like, I can't do this. Like this is like humor for like an 8-year-old boy. Like I just can't take this.
Wait, did you never finish it?
No, man, I couldn't get out of the first scene in the grocery store. I was like, this is not my cup of tea. Like,
I was like, you didn't get to see the giant food orgy at the end where they all fuck each other?
I did not. Nope.
Yeah, you missed out.
Yeah, it was, to say the least, not funny. And that's from the same animation studio that brings you Sony Pictures' Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. Which is an incredible feature.
I'm like, well, there was some time in between the two of them, so.
I hope that Matt listens to this podcast so he knows my appreciation for the film and that I gave you shit for not having seen it, which is absurd. I cannot believe you've gone this long. You've seen Venom, but you haven't seen that.
I know. Okay, you heard it here first. I'm a piece of shit. All right, I haven't seen Spider-Man in this. I'm gonna watch it probably this weekend, so that I'll be ready Sunday or whenever I'm recording.
Or
with
you
Matt,
don't watch it, and then you start recording with Matt, and then reveal to him that you didn't watch it, and then see how he reacts.
I'll watch the first 10 minutes just so I can like lead in like I did watch it, and I'm like, all right, time to come clean. I only watched the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, don't miss the Spider-Man orgy at the end.
Oh shit. I was like, I know there's a spider pig, so you know it's gonna get freaky.
Absolutely, played by the great John Mulaney.
Dude, does Gilbert Gottfried do any of the voices?
Unfortunately not, no.
I'm like, then what's the point?
I don't know, but Nicolas Cage is in it as Spider-Man Noir, and it's awesome.
Well, I guess there's that then.
It's my favorite aspect.
So, when's the next episode of the Intellectual Tea Party coming out?
Never. That there won't be another episode of that particular podcast, which is terrible.
You heard it here first.
Which is terrible. Exactly. You heard it here first because I never said anything on the page. And like literally once a week, I'm like, maybe I should post something on that page about how the fact that I'm not going to do this anymore. But so what happened was that like almost like immediately the podcast like went off the rails of what I had originally intended it to be. And I was just like, I couldn't keep up with the schedule of doing an episode every single week, just like with all the stuff I do in life. Like I just literally didn't have the time for it. And I was not putting any effort into the actual productions of them because I was rushing them so quickly to get them in. So I'd literally just do a recording, throw it on the server site for my podcast, which I did not deactivate until last month. So I've been paying for it for like 7 months without any episodes or some shit like that. I don't even remember when the last one was. But yeah, so I've been paying for it. I never shut down like the Facebook page, but I took it off of all my other social medias. But I left it there because like when I introduced my new podcast like later this year, I figured I'd just wipe out all that shit, but I wouldn't have to like regrow the audience. You know what I mean? On that particular platform.
Yeah, you just change the profile name, update the
Exactly,
picture,
exactly. That's what I'm going
keep the
for.
RSS feed.
Exactly. So like that's the idea. Is I could just keep it all there, like whatever is easier. But like I'm starting school this week, but I only have to have half a semester. So I'll be done in October. Then I'm going to focus full blast on getting that podcast up and running, which will explore the ideals of nostalgia.
Ooh, do you have a name for it yet?
That's the struggle, and why I haven't talked about it is because I keep like there's so many names that I keep thinking of, and I'm like, I don't know if I like it, and so like I haven't settled on a name yet. I don't know if I want to talk fully about the idea. Well, I don't. Your audience is growing. I don't think anybody's gonna steal my podcast.
Yeah, it's like I
So,
don't think like all like 20 people maybe that listen to the
yeah,
podcast are gonna take it.
yeah. If not, I'll sue. But basically, the concept of the podcast I'll be launching later this year is it's storing the idea of nostalgia goggles. So, like, all the time, you'll be talking to your friends and they'll be talking about a movie you saw when you were like 8 that you really loved. And they're like, oh, Space Jam. Fucking love Space Jam. It's a great movie. And I'm like, Space Jam is a terrible movie. What are you talking about? But people, gravitate towards that idea of what they for something that I hadn't seen in forever. So the concept is I'm going to have a guest every time, and it's not going to be like I'm not going to be on a time crunch because it's like going to be pre-recorded and it's not based off of whatever's happening at the moment. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna, I'm gonna bank some episodes before I launch it, so that I know I have content for like each week, and I can actually spend the time to edit them and make them nice and stuff. But so the idea is I'll have a guest host every time. We're going to watch a film from their past that they highly regard that I insist is bad. If I've seen it recently or not, I'll just like it'll just be like something that I think will be dog shit and they think is awesome. And the concept is I'll have them explain their love for it or whatever beforehand. We watch the movie and then they have to re-review it and we discuss how the intricacies of the film and how it viewed from an older perspective and how terrible things are once you see things when you're older. So that's the concept. Basically, you'll be re-rating something that you have nostalgia goggles for, and that's the idea. I'm going to crush some dreams, and I'm also going to have factoids and information about the productions of those movies to talk about.
Dude, that sounds fucking dope. Do I get to be a
Of
guest?
course, yes.
I was like,
Absolutely. That'll
I don't
definitely
know
be one.
what movie.
We gotta find something that I can bash on that you love from your childhood. I don't know.
Like, is there like a certain time limit? Like, for like, how old does it have to be? Like, does it
No,
have to be
man.
from
It
childhood, or
could
can
be
it be
from
from
like
like?
it could be like 5, 10 years ago, and you think it's good. I'm like, dude, that movie sucks, and like it's like a challenge essentially, and we'll just test the nostalgia about. It's like my wife like all the time will bring up some like Disney tween movie or something like we should watch this. I'm like, save it. I'm gonna want to watch this and talk about it because I haven't seen it before, but I bet it's really bad, and so like I want to do it. So like I'll watch anything. You want to watch High School Musical? Hell yeah, I want to watch High School Musical. I want to see what that's about and see what you think about it now. Stuff like that. So like that's the concept really, and it's not necessarily like bashing on something that you love. It's just really pointing out things, and you could see something and you could realize that it's really bad and still love it because that's the feeling that you have for it. But I just love testing. It's like when I was a kid, like when I was 9 years old, I thought Episode One, The Phantom Menace, was the shit. I'm like, God damn, did you see the lightsaber battles in that Star Wars movie? It's fucking awesome. I went and saw that 3 times in the theater. And you watch Phantom Menace, even like 5 years after that, when I was like 14, I'm like, holy hell, that's a really bad Star Wars movie. But I was just like entranced by it.
Yeah, I was like, I think I had a moment kind of like that recently where Megan said she'd never seen Crank 1 or 2. And I was like, oh, dude, I was like, Crank's so fucking badass. I was like, I'm so sad it never got a third one. And I put on Crank 1, and like after it was over, Megan's just like looking at me, and she's like, why'd you make me watch that? And I was like, all right. I was like, I'll admit that like some of the, like I was like, it's a little dated. Of like, but the second one's like more recent than that one. I was like, and the second one's like even better. And I put on the second one, and then she's just like, this still sucks. And I'm just like sitting there, I'm like, I think it's still pretty good.
At least Crank. I love Crank 2 because Crank 2 didn't give a fuck. They're like, we're just gonna go as bonkers as possible. It
It's
was
just
like,
so weird. I was like, I just like all the different camera shots. Like, but it also like doesn't help that like I was like, she's never also seen like Run Lola Run or like any of the other kind of like weird style, like weird shot, like movies like that. So I'm kind of like, you don't have the appreciation for this that I do.
well, I have good news for you though. There is a third Crank film. It's called Hobbs and Shaw. Like if it was Chet Chelios instead of Deckard Shaw, man, that movie would have been cranked up. No pun intended. No pun intended. Cranked up like 10 more notches.
I know that's on my list. Like the new Hobbs and Shaw is on my list with Ready or Not and
And
Good Boys and all the
and
other
it
films.
literally
Like,
disregards like pretty much the entire Fast franchise, so it is not vital to see those films at all. Considering that in the Fast and Furious franchise, like Deckard Shaw, like Jason Statham is a villain who's literally murdered members of the main Fast family, and now he's just buddying up with The Rock, and they
yeah,
don't
he's just
they don't reference it at all.
he's just like gunning people down in a hospital and shit, and
Hmm.
he's like, "Nah, we cool."
Exactly, it's insane. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that podcast, and I'm definitely gonna have you on. Maybe well, I've got some ideas of movies we could check out. You know, I've never seen the Keanu Reeves Constantine movie, and I know that you have a quite the
Yeah,
affinity for it. I could
that
see
is
that being something we could visit to see.
that's my movie. Then I was like, yeah, I was like for because I think that movie came out in like
Dude,
2003, 2004.
yeah, around that area.
I was like, yeah, like that and like Grandma's Boy were like the two movies that I watched like all the time from Hollywood Video.
I bet both of those have got some wear and tear on them from
Yeah.
age.
Oh yeah.
But
I
yeah,
was like, but that sounds exciting though. I'm excited for. Are you gonna like how like is it gonna be like like an actual like podcast or is it gonna be like a
it's
video?
just going to be a podcast. I'm not going to have like a video component to it.
Okay, so it's just gonna be like the audio of like before like an interview kind of thing beforehand, and then it's gonna like cut to after you've watched the movie.
Exactly, yeah, yeah. And then we're gonna like pull up like bullet points. I'll have categories to like ask about, and we'll like point out the most absurd things and like what's like aged, I guess, the best over time, and vice versa, stuff like that. So it should be a fun time. Yeah, and if you ever run out of hosts, man, I'd love to come back on this one. 'Cause I love chatting with you.
Dude, well, I would love to have you on
Oh,
again.
literally anytime, man. I'm ready for it.
You're like, once I'm not working weekends anymore.
Which I did get the news today. I won't be within the next like 2 weeks. I'll be back on a regular schedule.
Nice. You said you were, so for you're working 410s now?
Yeah, I work 4 10s Friday through Monday, but on Saturday and Sunday I work from home.
I guess that's not too bad.
It's pretty dope. It's
But
great having 3 days off every week. Like I just like if you want to bullshit for a day and do nothing, like you don't feel like you wasted half of your weekend. You still have like 2 full days to do stuff. So that's what I enjoy.
yeah,
And it's like
it's like
during the week when like everything's not ridiculously busy, so you can actually do stuff.
you can actually like go out and like not have to like
Yeah, there's happy
wait
hours
through.
everywhere. You don't have to like be surrounded by people in a movie theater, stuff like that.
You could go to Dutch Bros and not wait in line for
It's
25
like, oh
minutes.
fuck, dude. There's a Dutch Bros across the street from my house, and it's like the worst because it's like right outside of a mall, and there's like it's the tiniest drive-through, and literally the line for Dutch Bros goes around the street into the main street, and people like can't turn into the mall because of the line for Dutch Bros on a daily basis. So I stay clear of that Dutch Bros.
You're like, fuck that.
Not today.
Oh man. Well, I think that's gonna about wrap it up for this week's episode. Where can our listeners follow you at?
That's a great question.
Because
Seeing as I don't have
I deleted all my
I don't
social
have
media.
a current podcast, and I'm not going to give you the page for my old one because it needs to either be hidden or come down or something in the very near future, perhaps right after this podcast. I'll give you my Twitter handle though if you want to follow me at tanman1. It's just tanman and then one. That's how you do it.
Yeah, we'll have that in the description for the video and stuff, and I'll definitely shout out your new podcast once you have a name and a home for it.
For sure. Yeah, I got to start paying for it again. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Well, thanks for having me, man. It's been fun.
No, thanks for coming on, and yeah, and I think that's gonna do it.